Welcome to DEMOCREPUBLIX, where we cover the real news that matter to we the people. Epstein's suicide was a political assassination. No one should trust the state if the enemies of the state keep dying before a trial. The Washington Standard reports that the alleged suicide of billionaire Jeffrey Epstein is just another in a long line of people declared enemies of the state that have quietly or suspiciously been silenced before they could actually speak and tell what they knew. While there is plenty of reasons to doubt the official narrative coming from both government and the useful idiots in the mainstream media regarding Epstein's suicide, one should consider this is not anything new. Furthermore, it should be evidence that no one should trust the state ever. However, at least one commentator goes to the point of stating outright that this was a political assassination. Ted Rawls at the UNT's Review writes, "There is no other way to say it. It is a political assassination." Rawls recounts what we were told about Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden was unarmed. SEALs captured him alive. Following brazenly illegal orders from Washington, they executed him. The Obama administration had made clear to the military clandestine Joint Special Operations Command that it wanted bin Laden dead. The Atlantic reported on May 4th, 2011. That's if you believe any of this. I really don't believe. I believe bin Laden was dead years before, back when Bush was still in office. But I can get into that in another video. State-controlled media outlets like the Atlantic claim that President Barack Obama was desperate to avoid trial that would give the Al-Qaeda leader a high-profile platform for spreading his extremist views. Left unsaid, as so much is in the American steno journalism, reminiscent of the Soviet Union, was a more pressing reason to silence the Saudi scion. As much as the families of 9/11 victims craved justice, it was infinitely more important to the U.S. political establishment to deny bin Laden an opportunity to publicly expound on his ties to the CIA and the CIA-funded Pakistani intelligence agency, ISI, who were training and funding the Afghan Arabs who fought Soviet occupation forces in Afghanistan during the 1980s, letting people learn that 9/11 would likely never happen, not for the CIA, would have been awkward. Such is the fate of enemies of the state. And we did prop up Al Qaeda to fight the Soviet Union. Uh, it's it's pretty much common knowledge that this happened. We trained Bin Laden, um, and we created Al Qaeda basically. Raw went on to recount that though Epstein was not an enemy so much as his existence had become inconvenient, not exactly to the state, but certainly to a cabal of powerful men, including a former president, as well as a sitting one, joined bin Laden in the kingdom of the dead. Of course, he recounted the official story that has been put out about Epstein's alleged death. First, they said Epstein had been on suicide watch, and then that he hadn't. Prisons are full of cameras, yet there's still no video of Epstein's death. Then, suicide watch or not, they claim he'd been checked on every 30 minutes. Then, more like every 3 hours. The medical examiner said his injuries were consistent with strangulation by a second person, but then thought better of it and ruled Epstein's convenient demise a suicide. Of course, Raw pointed out that he tweeted on the morning the news broke about Epstein's demise, "Bill Clinton is the happiest man in America today." Why? Isn't it obvious? Epstein had the goods on Clinton and his flights on the Epstein's infamous Lolita Express private jet at least 6 times. Interesting enough, the Epstein suicide is the first to occur at the Manhattan Correctional Facility in over 2 decades. Raw then gets to the difference between the status and those who question the official narrative and points out the glaring telltale sign of foul play. Now, we're descending into the usual idiotic post-death debate between credulous, those who believe anything the government and its pets media says, and conspiracy theorists. He writes, "True. No one knows anything. We weren't there. The video was, but they deep six that." Quote, "We don't know how Epstein bid it, but the fact of Epstein's death tells us everything we need to know about America today." He added, "No matter what, Epstein died because the government let it happen. He was a ward of the state, the highest of high-profile prisoners, a man whose trial stood to expose extreme wrongdoings at the expense of numerous horribly violated victims. Yet no one in charge took the steps to make certain that he appeared at every hearing healthy and alive. The carelessness of the powers that be reflect their confidence that they shall never ever be held accountable for anything." And just in the nick of time, I mean, there's no telling what Epstein might have told the government to ensure he escaped the hangman's noose, or if he would simply have remained silent, assuming that they would kill him if he talked. Raw then reminds us that this is how things have been dealt with throughout history. So it was with Muammar Gaddafi, the Libyan dictator who signed a deal with the U.S. to rid Libya of a nuclear program, only to be blown up by one of Obama's assassination drones, least to say too much about his relationship with the Bush administration. So it was with Chris Dorner, the police officer who went on a shooting spree after he was fired by the LAPD, apparently in retaliation for reporting a fellow cop's excessive force against a mentally ill suspect before being hunted down and killed in a cabin the police set ablaze with pyrotechnic tear gas canisters. So it was with Sandra Bland, the African-American woman who apparently killed herself after being beaten and jailed by the police for the crimes of failing to signal a lane change, sassiness, and the likelihood she would have spoken out about being brutalized. So it was a bunch of Nazi war criminals who escaped judgment at Nuremberg. So it was Lee Harvey Oswald, whom the authorities couldn't resist parading before reporters without screening attendees like Jack Ruby for a weapon. That's if you believe that official story. And you know what happened to Jack Ruby. Epstein was not the first. He wouldn't be the last. As Raw comments, it's better that such people die like this for the people in charge. I wholeheartedly agree, but I always want you to consider who is actually in charge right now. So my rule of thumb is never believe the official narrative, the official story. Always do your research and come up with your own decisions rather than taking everything at face value. Research is very important. But let me know what you think. Do you think Epstein was assassinated, or you think he really committed suicide? Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And check out DEMOCREPUBLIX.com for the latest in news. Till next time. We living on a real nightmare. We living on a real nightmare.